It was 1 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon, and as she was hanging out the last of the laundry, Mana, that's the new name for Shirakawa, couldn't help but glance at her watch. Ever since she turned 52, this time of day has started to feel different. It's special. Her husband, Robert, Yuzubi Kyo, has been away on a business trip for a whole week, so Mana was completely alone in their quiet suburban home, having just wrapped up the housework. The very second the doorbell rang, Mana's heart did that little skip. It was probably just a delivery, right? Like always. But still, why? For some reason, having a visitor show up at this exact time, in the middle of a quiet afternoon, gave her this tiny, unexpected jolt of excitement. She opened the door, and there he was, a young man in familiar uniform. This is Noah, Yuzubi Nagase now, the 25-year-old delivery guy who's been covering their area for about 6 months. He's a favorite among the neighborhood housewives, totally clean-cut, polite, and just super unobtrusive. "Thank you for your hard work, Mana," he said, giving a small, professional nod. "Got your packet for you today, too." "Thank you," Mana replied. As she signed for the package, her eyes lingered for a moment on his hands. They were healthy and tan. Compared to her own hands, they just seemed so full of life. "Ma'am, you've been spending a lot of time alone lately, haven't you?" Noah asked, his tone casual, but it still caught Mana a little off guard. "Oh, sorry, what?" she stumbled. "I'm sorry if that's insensitive," he quickly added, "but I was just wondering if you were busy because I haven't seen your husband's car around." He actually pays attention to things that small? Mana felt a little wave of warmth wash over her. It made her happy. "Your husband travels a lot for work, doesn't he? He's still out of town, right? That must be lonely," Noah continued. His words weren't pitying. They conveyed a gentle sense of understanding. For Mana, it felt like someone had finally, genuinely seen her situation. "Oh, I'm used to it," she said, trying to sound casual. "We've been married for over 20 years. "Over 20 years," Noah repeated quietly, and something fleeting crossed his face. "Your wife is so big," he said suddenly. "Wait, scratch that. Let's rephrase. That's a long time," he murmured. His sudden words, his focus, made Mana's heart flutter a bit. "But I'm already 52 years old," she felt compelled to point out. "You don't look it," he said, his gaze fixed honestly on her face. Mana felt a small shiver run through her as she acknowledged his earnest expression. It had been a long time since a man had looked at her like that. "Thank you. I'd be happy to receive a compliment." "No compliment needed," Noah said, his voice serious. Mana's heart started beating faster. "Excuse me, Noah," she said, hesitating for a moment. "I know this is a bit sudden, but could I borrow your restroom?" His next delivery was a little ways away. Mana hesitated just for a moment. This would be the first time she'd had a man over when her husband wasn't here, but she had no real reason to say no. "Of course. Please." Watching him take off his shoes at the entrance, Mana felt her heart start to pound uncontrollably. "Why am I so wound up?" "Excuse me for interrupting," Noah said, walking into the living room. The room, bathed in soft afternoon light, looked subtly different than usual with him in it. "The bathroom is down the hallway at the back," she directed. "Thank you." As Noah walked away, Mana unconsciously fixed her hair. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she was being noticed as a woman. A few minutes later, Noah returned. "Thanks again." "Shall I make you some tea?" she asked, the words leaving her mouth without her even thinking about it. "But you must be tired from work," she quickly added, as if trying to stop herself. As Mana prepared the tea in the kitchen, she was a little surprised by her own actions. "Why am I suddenly trying so hard to keep him here?" "It must be hard for you to do all this by yourself," Noah said, having taken a seat on the sofa in the living room. "I'm used to it," Mana replied as she served the tea. But at that moment, Noah looked up at her. "It really is a long time." This time, his voice was even more serious than before. Mana's hands nearly trembled as she placed the teacup down. "Is a wife like that happy?" Mana was speechless at the sudden, blunt question. Happy? Does he mean happy with her husband? Noah's question had completely thrown her. When asked if she was happy, she realized she couldn't immediately say yes. "I'm sorry," she whispered, shaking her head, not wanting to say anything unnecessary. "I don't know." She'd just spoken her honest, raw feeling about whether she was happy or not. Noah nodded quietly. "There's something I don't understand either." "What is it?" Mana asked, her heart trembling, wondering what he meant. "I wonder why such a wonderful woman is always alone." A wonderful woman? Mana couldn't believe he'd said that about her. "I'm already an old lady." "Not at all," he countered immediately. You're a very attractive woman. Noah stood up from the sofa and walked toward Manna. Just as she was about to say something, his hand gently reached out and touched hers. Ma'am, he said softly, and the warmth of his hand left Manna momentarily paralyzed. No, I can't. Her words were a refusal, but her body didn't move. It didn't resist his touch. I'm sorry, he whispered, but he didn't pull away. He moved closer. Manna closed her eyes. At that exact moment, the doorbell rang again. They both quickly jumped apart. Manna's heart was hammering in her chest. Excuse me. It seems we have another visitor, she stammered. Yes, Noah said, hastily standing up. I'll be off now. I'll deliver your package again next week, he promised. Yes, Manna nodded, a slight, breathless sound. Noah headed to the front door. Watching him leave, Manna felt like she was burning up. As she watched Noah disappear out the door, Manna thought, next Wednesday is coming, and I'm already looking forward to it. In the quiet afternoon, a small, secret feeling was born between them. It was the first time Manna had felt the pure joy of being recognized as a woman in a very long time. A whole week had dragged by, and Manna was now staring intently into the mirror, applying her makeup far more carefully than usual. Today was Wednesday, 1 p.m., and she had just 30 minutes to go. Manna was amazed at herself, but her hands wouldn't stop moving. She reapplied a subtle pale pink lipstick and fussed with her hair. It was honestly a shock to think that at 52 years old, she was prepping herself in her home for a 25-year-old man. Her husband, Robert, had only confirmed his extended absence the other day with a short, typical email. My business trip has been extended for another week. I'm taking care of things on the team lead side and am used to the routine. It was a curt, purely informational message. But for some reason, today, it didn't bother her at all. It hit 1:05 p.m., 5 minutes later than the usual delivery time, and Manna couldn't stand the suspense any longer. She peered out the window. She couldn't see Noah anywhere. Maybe he's not coming today, she thought, and a sudden, sharp tightness gripped her heart. What is wrong with me? She muttered to herself, shaking her head as she returned to the living room. Just then, the doorbell rang. Her heart leaped up into her throat. Yes, she called out, already opening the door. Noah was standing there, but he looked different than last week. He seemed a little nervous. Perhaps. Thank you for your hard work, Manna, he said, still professional. Thank you for your hard work, she replied, taking the small package. She looked up at him as she signed for it. He was also staring at her. The awkward, charged atmosphere created by the events of last week hung heavy between them. Noah, he began, his voice hesitant. Yes. May I come inside again? His words made Manna's heart race. He hadn't forgotten that moment either. Of course, she managed, noticing her voice was trembling as she answered. Excuse me for interrupting. This time, there was no pretense about needing to use the restroom. They both knew that. I'll make some tea, she offered, needing something to do with her hands. Thank you. As Manna worked in the kitchen, she was so nervous she could practically hear the drumming of her own heart. Why am I so shaken? Noah's voice came from right behind her. She turned around and found him standing right next to her. Yes. I've been thinking about this all week, he confessed, his eyes fixed on Manna's face with serious intensity. What about? About you. His words took her breath away. About me? Yes. Since we met last week, I haven't been able to get you out of my head. Noah said. His honest confession left Manna speechless. You don't know how attractive you are, Manna. Noah took a step closer. I'm an old lady now, really. You look like a very beautiful woman to me. At that moment, his hand gently reached out and touched Manna's. It was the same warm hand as last week, and it slowly wrapped around hers just as she was about to protest again. Noah, she whispered. It was the first time she had called him by his first name. Yes. This is wrong, isn't it? Noah paused for a moment before answering her question. I don't know, but I don't think it's wrong to care about someone this much. Those words shook Manna's heart to its core. But I'm married, so I understand, she trailed off. And age has nothing to do with it, he insisted. Noah's hand tightened slightly on Manna's, just like last week. But this time, Manna didn't pull away. Please call me Manna, she heard herself say, surprised by her own forwardness. Manna, Noah repeated, his voice calling her name sending a shiver through her. I cherish you as a woman, Manna. The words seemed to come out naturally for her. I was looking forward to seeing you too, Noah. Little by little, their faces drew closer. Manna. Yes. Noah's lips gently touched hers. It was a soft, warm kiss. She closed her eyes and simply accepted the sensation. It had been a long time since she felt this pure, simple joy as a woman, and her heart began to race wildly. When the kiss ended, they gazed into each other's eyes. I'm sorry. Noah started to apologize. Wait, don't apologize. I was happy too. Noah's expression brightened instantly at her words. Really? Yes. Manna nodded obediently. But I know we can't take this further than this, he said. Noah smiled gently. I don't intend to rush you or keep you busy. I'm just happy to be able to see you, Manna. His simple words made her heart feel warm and safe. I'll look forward to Wednesdays because I get to see you, Noah. Me too. The two sat down on the sofa, holding hands in comfortable silence. What do you usually do, Manna? Aren't you lonely reading without anyone here? He asked, looking around the peaceful room. I was lonely, she admitted. Then she looked at Noah. Now I have something to look forward to. I feel the same way, he said, and his hand gently wrapped around hers. I never thought I'd feel this way again, she confessed. Me too. Meeting Manna has changed my everyday life. A peaceful time passed between them, just sitting, talking, and holding hands. It's about time for me to get back to work, Noah said, checking his watch reluctantly. That's right. Manna frowned, a little sadness creeping in. Can I see you again next week? He asked. Of course. Manna nodded happily. I'll be thinking of you until then. Me too. They shared another quick kiss at the entrance before he slipped on his shoes. Please be careful at work. Thank you. After seeing Noah off, Manna went straight to the mirror. Her face was flushed and her eyes were shining. When was the last time I'd seen myself like this? She wondered. That evening, Manna received a call from Robert, her husband, at the company. Are you doing well? He asked, his voice sounding distant and professional as always. Yes, I'm fine, Manna replied, surprised to hear her own voice sounding brighter, lighter than usual. I see. Looks like I'll be able to go home next week, Robert stated. Okay, she said simply. After hanging up the phone, Manna felt a confusing swirl of emotions. What would happen to her Wednesday afternoon time with Noah when her husband returned? But right now, more than anything, she was focused on next Wednesday. The thought of seeing Noah again was the fuel that kept her heart going. It was the first time she felt anything resembling pure love at the age of 52. For Manna, this whole affair felt like the unexpected start of new life. 3 days passed quickly since her husband's call. Manna had mixed feelings as she prepared breakfast. Tomorrow was Wednesday and Noah would be coming. Good morning, Robert said, entering the dining room. As always, he was holding the newspaper. Good morning, Manna replied. Would you like some coffee? Yes, please. Their conversation felt less like a genuine exchange and more like a functional communication between roommates. They'd been married 24 years. When exactly had their relationship become this transactional? Today, I'll drop by the office and then head to Nagoya again, Robert informed her. Is that so? Manna realized with a small internal jolt of guilt that she felt a sense of relief. It would be easier to see Noah without her husband around. Feeling guilty about that thought, Manna asked, When will you be back? Maybe around Friday next week, he answered casually. That meant she would definitely be alone again tomorrow, on Wednesday. After Robert had left for his trip, Manna sat by herself, drinking coffee, and pondered an inevitable question. Where was her relationship with Noah going? Was it just a casual fling, or something deeper? The clock chimed 1. The familiar, exciting jolt hit her as the doorbell rang. She was already used to the feeling of her heart pounding. Hello, Manna, Noah said when she opened the door, and Manna was genuinely happy that he had so naturally started calling her by her name. Hello, Noah, she replied, noticing he seemed a little more serious than usual today. May I come over again today? Please, come in. Noah walked into the living room and sat down. He looked at Manna, who seemed a little formal, a little apprehensive. His serious expression made Manna feel slightly uneasy. What is it? She asked. I want to be serious about dating you, Manna. Manna gasped at his words. But I have nothing, he continued, looking down at his hands. I'm young, but I have no money. I wonder if I'm truly worthy of a wonderful woman like you, Manna. Noah's honest vulnerability warmed Manna's heart completely. Yes, she said simply, reaching out and taking his hand. Money and wealth have nothing to do with this. All I wanted, she admitted, looking him straight in the eye, was for someone to see me as a woman, to cherish me. Mana hadn't had any real intimacy or physical contact with her husband for years. This was the first time she had ever spoken about the reality of her marriage. I was lonely, she confessed, just when she thought her life as a woman would simply end like this. She met Noah. Noah listened quietly, patiently, to everything Mana had to say. I, too, have changed since meeting Mana, he confessed. In a way, each day suddenly has meaning. It gives me the strength to work hard throughout the week just so I can see you on Wednesday. His words brought tears to Mana's eyes. So did I, she whispered. The two embraced quietly, feeling each other's warmth. Noah called out her name. Mana. Yes. Can you trust me? He asked softly. Of course. Mana answered without hesitation. Then Noah's hand gently stroked her cheek. Can we stay together a little longer today? Mana understood the full meaning of his words, and she felt exactly the same way. Yes. Hearing Mana's answer, Noah smiled gently, a mix of relief and adoration. Take your time, he assured her. His kindness began to ease Mana's tension. The two joined hands and headed toward the bedroom. In the soft afternoon light streaming into the room, Mana felt the pure, exquisite joy of being loved as a woman for the first time in a very long time. Mana, you are truly beautiful, Noah whispered, and his words filled her heart completely. Thank you, Mana answered honestly. It was a special time, with every minute passing slowly, luxuriously. Mana realized with a profound sense of certainty that she was still fully alive as a woman. I'm happy, Mana murmured softly, closing her eyes. Me too, Noah answered, pulling her closer and hugging her tightly. I wonder what will happen from now on, Mana asked, a hint of anxiety in her voice. I don't know, Noah answered quietly, stroking her hair. But my desire to cherish you won't change. I cherish you too, Mana said sincerely. They embraced each other in comfortable, quiet warmth. As the afternoon light began to fade toward evening, it was time for Noah to go home. See you next week, he said, his voice tinged with reluctance. Yes, Mana replied. Noah walked with Mana to the entrance to say goodbye. Mana, do you have any regrets about this? He asked, looking serious again. No, Mana answered without hesitation. If anything, I feel more alive. That's good. Noah smiled with genuine relief. I'm also happiest when I'm spending time with you, Mana. After seeing Noah off, Mana went back to the kitchen and made a cup of tea, deep in thought. This was infidelity. Morally, it was wrong. But why did she feel so incredibly fulfilled? That night, she received another call from Robert at the company. How are you? He asked. Yes, fine, she replied automatically. I see. Work has been busy, and I haven't been able to get in touch for a while. Sorry for the hard work, he said. After hanging up the phone, Mana felt the conflicting emotions were inside her. Guilt toward her husband and powerful love for Noah. These feelings were constantly being torn between her heart. But one thing was absolutely certain. Meeting Noah had given her the ability to live and feel again as a woman. It was a priceless gift. Noah came again the following Wednesday, the same time, the same place, and the following Wednesday as well. Their relationship continued as a carefully guarded secret, even as she wavered between dread and love. Mana found herself looking forward to each Wednesday afternoon with a singular focus. Yes, Mana, I'm sure our relationship is complicated, Noah admitted one afternoon, holding her hand. But my love for you is genuine. I love you, too, she confessed back. They were 52 and 25, respectively, a married woman and a single man with a 27-year age gap. From the outside, their relationship might seem full of problems, almost impossible. But for them, Wednesday afternoon was a special time, an irreplaceable time when they needed and loved each other completely. Mana looked at herself in the mirror again. Her face was flushed, and her eyes were shining with a brilliant light. This was the face of a woman who felt desired and cherished. Thank you, Noah, Mana murmured softly to her reflection. Wednesday's secret continues. It is a story of unique and special love that only these two could share.